Iron Man. Iron Man is a duelist with 250 health. He is a flying character whose main weapon is a repulsion cannon. He can shoot pulses of energy which can hit multiple enemies for low damage, and he has a unibeam which you hold down with right click and laser enemies for continuous damage. Ammo for both the repulsion cannon and unibeam are shared. Pressing left shift activates an aerial sprint. Pressing E powers him up, increasing damage output from both the repulsion cannon and unibeam. His team up with Hulk makes his attacks even stronger when he is powered up. Pressing F activates a mini missile barrage, which damages all enemies in range. His ultimate is a giant repulsion cannon shot, which can one-hit kill most enemies. Hulk. He is a Vanguard with 800 health when he is in Hulk form. He is essentially D.Va from Overwatch. He has 3 modes, Bruce Banner, Hulk, and Ultimate Hulk. You start with Bruce Banner, who has a pistol as his main weapon. He has 200 health and one ability, which is a gamma grenade that pushes enemies away, which is essentially a getaway button. Pressing Ultimate as Banner changes you into the Hulk, who has 800 health. His main ability is a punching move which does decent damage. Pressing left shift gives you and nearby teammates shield, which absorbs damage and converts it into charge for his ultimate, which reduces the time for his ultimate. Pressing E stuns an enemy, and holding the spacebar performs a charged leap that deals damage to enemies in range of where he lands. The more you hold space, the higher and further he jumps. Pressing right click makes Hulk clap his hands and deal damage to surrounding enemies. His team-up makes Iron Man and Doctor Strange stronger by infusing them with gamma energy. Pressing Ultimate as Hulk turns him into Ultimate Hulk, which gains him some new abilities. His main punching attack is now knockbacks enemies. Pressing Q as Ultimate Hulk allows you to grab and smash enemies like how he does to Loki in Avengers 1. Pressing E in this form emits gamma energy to an enemy, which stuns them and deals damage over time. Hulk's jump in this form is much greater and it can bring down flying enemies. Venom. He is a Vanguard with 800 HP. He is essentially a tank version of Spider-Man. His main attack is he unleashes tentacles forward, which damages enemies from medium range. Pressing right click chains enemies to you, which slows them down, and after a moment does damage to them. Pressing left shift allows him to swing one time, unlike Spider-Man who can swing without cooldown. While in the air, pressing F allows Venom to dash forward towards the ground, damaging and knocking back enemies at the landing point. Pressing space at a wall allows him to climb it. This is a passive ability. Pressing E gives him temporary bonus health, which the amount increases depending on how low Venom is. His team-up is that he gives symbiotic powers to Spider-Man and Penny Parker, which allows him to do damage to enemies nearby passively when activated. His ultimate is that he goes into the ground, he cannot take damage in this state, he can move freely, and pressing left click makes him come up from the ground and deal significant amounts of damage to enemies in radius. Starlord. He is a duelist with 200 HP. He is like a flying tracer in that he's fast, has low health, and has fast-firing dual pistols. His main weapon is his dual pistols, which do lots of damage quickly, but the catch is that ammo is limited, with a short magazine. Pressing left click allows him to dodge and reload his weapon. He gets 2 of these dodges, which regenerate over time. Pressing left shift lets you fly for 3 seconds, which essentially boosts you in a direction. Pressing E releases a barrage of bullets around you, which deals damage to enemies nearby, without having to aim. His ultimate is essentially Soldier 76's ultimate, which shoots the main pistols faster, reloads it faster, and locks on enemies, essentially being aimbot. Namor. He is a duelist with 250 HP. His main weapon is a trident, which he throws. This trident has long range and does decent damage. He has a shield ability where when you press left shift, it creates a bubble around him, which gives him time to get healed by a teammate. Pressing E throws down an octopi, which does small damage to enemies in range. He has 3 of these octopuses, which he can place down at a time. His right click is a stronger trident throw, which does damage to multiple enemies. He can use this once every 6 seconds. His ultimate summons a giant sea creature to an area, which does massive amounts of damage. It does more damage to enemies in the center. His team up with Luna Snow is that he can have an extra octopus. Spider-Man. He's a duelist with 300 health. His main attack is a melee with his fist, which does decent damage and is pretty fast. Pressing right click shoots a web cluster which does around the same damage as his fist. He gets 5 web clusters which regenerate over time. Pressing F nearby enemies launches enemies upwards, which gives you the opportunity to combo them. Using a web cluster and pressing E on a webbed enemy allows you to quickly swing to that enemy where you can combo them with the melee attack. Pressing E on an enemy that isn't webbed will bring them to you. Spider-Man has 3 passives. He can double jump, sense enemies nearby through his spidey sense, and crawl on walls. Pressing left shift allows you to web swing, like you would expect with Spider-Man. His ultimate is that he radiates a lot of webs nearby him, which webs up enemies and does significant damage. His team up with Venom is that it allows him to create a spiky symbiotic layer around him, which does damage to nearby enemies. Warlock. He is a strategist with 250 health. His main weapon is his staff, which launches quantum energy, and the damage output is very high, so he's almost like a sniper. Holding right click allows you to charge up quantum energy and launch it at once. His attacks are essentially Zenyatta from Overwatch. Pressing left shift creates a bond between teammates, which allows them to share health and distribute the damage taken. Pressing E creates another bond which heals multiple allies by bouncing the healing off allies. Adam Warlock has a passive, which, when he dies, he gets put into a cocoon, which allows him to revive himself. The cooldown for this passive is 2 minutes. He can give the same passive to Starlord and Mantis as his team-up ability. His ultimate places down a giant orb, which, when allies die nearby, they revive instantly at the orb. This orb lasts 10 seconds and does not revive anyone dead prior to the orb being placed. Doctor Strange. He is a Vanguard with 600 health. His main attack is he shoots daggers with his magic, which builds up dark energy with every hit. This dark energy, once full, deals damage to Doctor Strange when allies heal him as an anti-heal. But this dark energy can be released by pressing E, which does damage to nearby enemies. This damage is increased by how much dark energy is accumulated. The amount of damage released can also be increased when Hulk is nearby, which is his team up with Hulk and Iron Man. He can temporarily fly by pressing left shift. Pressing F allows you to place down a portal, then place down another one at another location, which links the two locations, allowing you to seamlessly pass through the portals. Holding right click allows you to hold up a shield like Reinhardt from Overwatch. His ultimate stuns all enemies in radius, which also releases their souls, like he does in the movies. You can damage these souls as well as their bodies, which doubles the amount of damage the enemy takes.